really happy to be with you,
GM, good morning. How are you, Fanny? Happy to have you with me this morning. So, just to let you know, I'm super excited because today we are opening a very, 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 very special week. And this is why also I have the chance to have Fanny with me this morning. Because, Fanny, you are in Paris, right?
Yes, yes, it's not 3 a.m. like when I log in from the other side of the ocean. So, yeah, I think I'm not the only one. There are a lot of Web3 people in Paris right now interested in art mostly. And the reason why, should we use the drum roll and like why we're all here? If you
Why?
don't know
Why?
already with the title and everything. Well,
So,
there's Paris Photo.
Paris Photo, come on! So yeah, it's super, super, super exciting, and this is why this episode is also in partnership NFT Morning with WAC and with you're representing the WAC family to help me to co-moderate this special NFT Morning, and so basically we will not make any suspense because we have a lot of guests, and I just wanted to welcome on stage the one who's behind this digital district of Paris Photo. She started this journey last year, and I think most of the people in the space are extremely excited to see that she's doing it again this year. Please welcome Nina Roers. Hi, Nina.
Hi.
Thank you, Nina, for being with us this morning. It's a big pleasure and honor to have you because, yeah, maybe, just before we start, because we have a lot of guests and we will introduce them. But before we start, I just wanted to know, basically, in few words, who is Nina? Who is Nina Roers? What is your background? What is bringing you right now to this Paris photo curation?
I started as studying business administration, working for UBS, a Swiss bank, for 14 years. And then in 2016, I opened a gallery for art in the digital age, stopped working for the bank. And my interest was also always in topics that have a high relevance for our society. And I think digitalization is one of the big topics. And we had that gallery working with many early net artists, new media artists, and then in the end also people from the Web3 world. We did that for 5 to 6 years in Zurich, and then I stopped having the gallery and went more into consulting and curation. As an independent curator, curated an exhibition at Kunsthalle Zurich in 2022-23 about art in the context of blockchain and NFTs. And then Paris Photo contacted me, and we did that first edition of the digital sector within Paris Photo, the biggest art fair for photography. And yeah, here we are again 1 year later.
Yeah, and I believe that's something maybe Fanny also you can comment that you mentioned that when we did the WAC Lab last time. For people who don't know Paris Photo, maybe we can give some background information because it's maybe the most important artistic photography fair in the world, right? Am I right, or I'm exaggerating?
No, I think that's correct.
Yeah, so it's where, and so I believe for people following what's going on in the digital art world, we are always trying to find how we are accepted, how it's integrated, what's going on there, and we are always happy to have I don't know. Maybe a booth somewhere at Basel, or something happening maybe during the Biennale. But in terms of integration, I believe that's maybe it's so far the most integrated digital art exhibition inside of one of the main in the main fair, basically, right?
I think at least in Europe it is. I don't know exactly what it looks like in Dubai or in Singapore. I think they also have sectors where they're integrating the digital in dedicated sectors into the fairs. But for all the European fairs, they're the first and only one at the moment.
Yeah, and I think this is, you know, like Nina is quite humble, but I think it's quite a big deal, as John said, like to have to not be considered, to not have digital art be like the support of a sponsor, a blockchain sponsor, or as you said, John, like kind of having a booth on the second floor by the bathroom, you know, that like everybody is looking for. I think this is something quite extraordinary, like for the second time that Nina is curating, and especially because Paris Photo, we haven't said where it is, but it is actually coming back this year at the Grand Palais, and last year was the Grand Palais Éphémère because it was still closed for renovation, and it is a big fair. I think it was founded in the 90s, I think, and the photography market in Paris is quite large, so it does attract like all the photography collectors in the world, and now you know, Nina, you can tell us like about the digital sector, because it's not just digital photography. Like I know some people have asked you, but would love to know a little bit more about what the digital sector actually is like.
The digital sector follows somehow the tradition of exhibitions that we've seen in institutions in the past 10 to 20 years, where we more witnessing that this question is being brought up, what photography even means in now or today. And I think photography has changed a lot, first through digital photography, then through software tools like Photoshop. And now today we are facing artificial intelligence. So there are a lot of questions around the medium itself. And then of course we are living in a digital age where the image is very central in the way we're experiencing our digital life. And it's about bringing all these ideas into one dedicated sector of the fair, also to introduce people to this idea of the digital, let's say, facing the arts, or what the digital element brings to the arts, and what we can also, or what I feel is photography fairs actually quite an ideal home for that, because people are very used to this idea of artists working with a device, artists working with software. They are used to this idea of artificial scarcity. So they're used to this idea of editions. And that's things, for example, that you wouldn't find necessarily in paintings, where the original still often plays a key role in also when collectors are looking at works that they want to collect. And and the crowd that's coming, many curators with this photography background and collectors from corporate collection, but also private collection, gives it very interesting backdrop. And when we started last year, for me, one of the preconditions was not only to invite the typical gallery that has a gallery somewhere in a city that does 6 or 7 exhibitions a year that represents artists, but also to bring in these new curated platforms from the Web3 space, who are also bringing in the innovations with which galleries might still struggle sometimes, because they're not yet that familiar with blockchain technology. And that gives an interesting mixture now also of exhibitors. And I think this year we have 15 exhibitors. Last year we had 10. And we've also grown in space, and we've also grown in importance in a way that we are now right in the center of the fair. Last year we were also integrated fully in the fair. What was a bit like from an architectural perspective, like on the side, but now we are right in the middle between these beautiful staircases. So it's really prominent, and the fair puts a great emphasis on the sector. Really pushes it.
And I think half of the exhibitors are actually, almost half are coming back, right?
Yeah.
Which is always a good sign of like when you look at art fairs, like to see if it works for galleries, right? Like so it does work.
Yeah, and you always lose some. For example, we had one exhibitor who stopped, but we knew that already, that they would change their business model. Then we had one who has only very few artists who, let's say, qualify for digital sector, so they might come back every second or third year. Doesn't make sense for them to come every year. Then there's also Art Cologne happening, unfortunately, parallel to Paris Photo. So Nagel Draxler, for example, they're also on the board of the Art Cologne, so they have to focus on Art Cologne. So there are many factors playing into that, but we're very happy to have, I think, 5 of 9 out of 9 or 10 are back.
Wow. And the fact just, that on one hand, you are renewing them, and on the other hand, that Paris Photo is making it bigger and more central. Just, to share with us the perspective, does it mean that, Paris Photos have a clear objective of becoming one of the main digital art fair in the future? How do you interpret this?
I don't know if for them that it is so much about the digital. I think it's also about, when you look at it from the perspective of a fair, you're always asking yourself the question, how do I create an attractive fair, and how do I stay really contemporary? And looking at the digital from the perspective of a photography fair, I think it's also about bringing in a contemporary visual language, bringing in digital culture. And it's something we're also seeing with many of the exhibitors across the fair. But the question is that enough to really make people aware that there's something happening? You might find works that have been done with artificial intelligence here, there. You have been finding NFTs now for many years, also within Paris Photo. But it's a very few. And the new art director, Anna Planas, who joined last year, she really had that vision of introducing people to that new world, but also gaining maybe or attracting new people, a new crowd, new collectors, younger collectors, and also staying up to date, I would say, with what's going on today around the image.
And I think what's really interesting, Nina, is that like last year, and I haven't seen this year yet, but I'm assuming there's a lot of back and forth between the digital format and the physical format. So when people in Web3, for example, imagine like a digital art exhibition, it's not just screens, right? Like many exhibitors actually focus on like this back and forth and explaining to also a new audience these new digital tools, but via maybe a physical print or something that like Paris Photo attendees are more used to.
It's very true. It's a good point, because I mean, often people have this, when you say digital art, and I don't like that term for that reason that much. Usually I try to say art in the digital age, because for me it's more art under the influence of our digital life, and which is changing the way people can paint, people can do sculpture, can do photography, also gives artists new topics, because I feel art is also more interesting when it's discussing relevant issues of our society. And we have many artists who also do that. And for me, that also qualifies as art that belongs in the digital sector. And the way it manifests, it's something that needs to work for the artist and needs to fit the artwork, the project. And we have many projects that start in the digital and end very physical. So let's, for example, say somebody works with artificial intelligence and then prints the work in the end on a photo paper and frames it. The piece that's hanging in the booth is very similar to any other work we are seeing, or many works at the photography fair, but it belongs to the digital realm. So that's maybe the difference. And then we're also having works that start physical, like for example with Alina Friske this year, she they do not really start physical, but somehow it has a physical element in the way that she's collecting snippets from images from social media, like a collage. And then she puts them together in her computer and makes them almost look like they get a painterly quality, and then she prints it again. So it's a pure digital process, but it has many elements of almost cutting things out, which you would also do in a physical world. And then the work ends as a physical photo print. And last year we were a bit concerned as a fair how we would build that bridge for the traditional crowd coming to the sector. And for me, it was quite clear they would all come to the sector and expect screens, just screens. And that's something I wanted to, at least I wanted to give them something to think about. Let's put it like this. There's nothing wrong about screens. And then I invited David Horwitz to Jean Conta Gauthier Gallery. And David Horwitz is a conceptual artist who belongs to the new media artistic scene. But I would say conceptual art is the best, it's a better description of his practice. And he deleted images from his phone as a commentary to how overwhelmed we are by the multitude of images in our life. And he deleted them, and kind of as a little leftover, he remembered put down a little sentence about every image. So for example, like 2 paintings hanging in the Louvre, or David in front of the Eiffel Tower, or simply money, or descriptions of nature. And then he also had the JPEG number and the date when the picture was taken. And the whole booth was only these sentences. So kind of leftovers of images that were gone. And it's more like something that it's discussing what image are doing with us in the digital age. And for me, that's also highly relevant works for a digital sector. So people came in, saw that black booth with the white text. They were like, okay, that's a digital sector. So what's going on? And it's always good to reboot people a little bit, to make them awake. And then you can discuss these things from scratch.
And that booth was very interesting because it was, it was last year, but it was, to your point, it was 2 Web3 people. It was sort of explaining how like that works to other people, and and everybody was like, but where are the NFTs? Like the artist was like, no, there's no NFT. I'm explaining.
But certificates, you would buy them as certificates,
Exactly.
which you could have done as an NFT, but the artist
Absolutely.
decided not to. And for me, that's also up to the artist. So we are really going for very broad range. And last year we had 1 screen, back to Fanny's point. So that was almost a bit, maybe not enough in the end, but all the galleries or exhibitors were so aware also of this tension maybe that they tried to get it right and brought a lot of physical projects. This year we are seeing more screens. We will have Lorna, who's here in the call, with a wonderful booth with Object. I think she can talk to that much better than I do. And then we also have Sabrina Ratte, who brings moving image. So we have more screens, definitely. We also have some generative art projects and AI projects. So there's more this year.
That's awesome. And we will introduce the artists, but maybe one last question, just more on the business side, I would say. Do you consider that this digital sector from Paris Photo's end, is it already business, or it's still investment into innovation and communication?
I mean, for the fair, it's business, because we are following exactly the same structure as with any other space in the Grand Palais. So basically, my job is to commercialize a certain amount of square meters in a way that it's dedicated to the digital. So, but that was my negotiation with the fair. We sat down in January and said, what's realistic? What's the best spot in the Grand Palais? And the exhibitors are also paying the same price as any other exhibitor.
Okay, so now it's 100% business. And so I believe, the more space you take, the more space they could allocate you the following year, basically.
Yeah, I mean, if we have an over demand, and I think we are getting many interesting applications in, then we will, of course, also evaluate them and then also see what we get for the other sectors. And then the sector will always get the room to grow, I'd say.
Okay, yeah, no, makes sense. Okay, that's super. No, super happy. And actually, we could, happy to have you. I just wanted to say that all this week during the NFT morning, we will have, I would say, most of the people, and actually, I'm still programming more rooms right now to try to include as much galleries and artists, curated by Nina for Paris Photo. So you can see that this afternoon, actually at 4 p.m., we have another NFT morning that will be the late morning with Trevor Paglen and Alejandro Cartagena from Fellowship Gallery. And then all along the week, tomorrow 9 a.m., Marlène Corbin from La Collection and the artist Jack Butcher, who's presenting also, pretty different project from what people are used to with him, actually. And then, on November 7th, also, we have another podcast with the FXH team with basically with the artist Thomas Noyak, who is part of the project that is exhibited, and Ana Maria Caballero will come with Anne Schwanz also. So and you will see I'm programming much more right now, and I will let you know, Nina, also. And also, it's on the side, but also I will have an IRL session on Friday, live from Harcourt Studio Paris, to present the 99 Cameras Museum. So it's not directly related to the curation, but it's a side event from Paris Photo, basically. So super excited. And so let's start basically with the...
Maybe one word. I just want to say how great this initiative is, and how grateful we are for you kind of shining a light on Paris Photo and the exhibitors.
No, yeah, we are grateful to. I think, this is the point, it's something important, and we feel like our mission is to take notes on what's going on in the space, and it's a major moment. It's super important, so we have to do it. And for people who are not used to follow it, this is why also we are in English all along this week. Usually we speak French, but it's important to document this. And so please welcome Kika Nicolella from Object.com, and basically she will show this project with Lorna Mills. Hi Kika, hi Lorna, how are you?
Good.
I'm fine, and you?
Great, super happy to have you this morning. And last but not least, we have also Mimi Nguyen with us. Hi Mimi, how are you?
Hi, I'm all good. Nice to see you.
Awesome. Maybe Nina, as you're here, you can maybe just quickly introduce us. Maybe we can start with the Object exhibition that is done with Lorna, and tell us more about introduce basically Object for people who don't know.
Kika, please correct me if I'm wrong. Kika might do much better job working for Object.
Sorry, I give you a lot of work at 9 a.m. in the morning after.
I'm not a morning person, for my defense. No, Object.com is one of the marketplaces platforms originally built on the Tezos blockchain. Tezos started with Hikmet Nank, and then when Nank started to struggle, we were pretty soon seeing other platforms coming up, and Object.com, for me, it's a bit like the OpenSea of the Tezos space, and Kika is their curator, and Lorna, for me, is an artist who is contributed great work to the Tezos environment. Is somehow a very integrated part of the Tezos artist community with a unique language. The language itself has existed for so many years before on Instagram and other channels, and as parts of Lorna's collages, but somehow for me, through the blockchain and NFT from 2021, 2022, changed the attention that Lorna's work is getting. And I think Lorna can talk to that better than I do. And yeah, here we are. And I was always a big fan. And Lorna and I even did a blockchain project in 2020, very early one. By the time Lorna said, I think it's for criminals, it's not for me, but you can do it, I trust you. So it was a very funny conversation to have. So you see, we came a long way all together. And then, I think Object is a great platform to have for Paris Photo, and here we are with the Solo by Lorna.
Yes, I believe Object is right now the platform basically where you can see everything that's happening on Tezos, Kika. And so maybe Kika, we had the chance to have you last time at NFT Morning. I think it was just after or during Art Basel, I believe, just after NFC Lisbon, and you presented both projects. So happy to have you back, and happy to have you back for this new project that looks amazing. So maybe you can just explain us what it is about.
Yeah, no, it's great to be back. I think just to be more precise, in a way, Object is it has this similarity with OpenSea in the way that it does indexes everything that happens on Tezos, but at the same time, it's completely different in the sense that we do value a lot curation. So there's a daily curation every day on the front page, which is a tremendous amount of work, which I don't think any other platform does. And at the same time, we did open a second platform that is also a gallery inside Object called Object One, which is basically the created arm of Object. And that's we are in the fair as Object One, not as Object, because Object is supposed to be, it is a completely open platform, and Object One is really our interface with this more curated and fine art fairs and exhibitions. And so when Nina invited us, and we were very, very happy with the invitation, the first thing I thought, okay, what we should show in Paris Photo, and I thought, okay, I'm sure there's a lot of galleries that are going to give attention to artificial intelligence, to gen art, to code-based art, and I thought what other format is very relevant to discuss in the context of Paris Photo. And I really thought that GIF was very important because it is very important, very present on the NFT space, but it's also very important for the contemporary way of communicating, for it's internet-based. It has this component of being a format that has production, consumption, circulation embedded in this single entity, and it's somehow an expansion of photography, a condensation of filmmaking, and it's at the same time some other thing altogether. So it's something I wanted to approach, and of course I thought of Lorna right away, because Lorna is she's the queen of GIFs. I mean, she's not only she produces them, but she is a big researcher in a way, and she goes to all corners of the internet, obsessively just selecting, curating, searching under her own personal way of looking at things, which is very, very particular and very interesting and very, in some ways, in the best way, outrageous. And I thought that could be very interesting to also shake things up, to invite her.
Yes, I believe that, it will be interesting for the audience of Paris Photo to discover Lorna's work. Maybe Lorna, you can tell us a bit more also about, basically what you are exhibiting now in Paris Photos. Sorry,
You're muted, Lorna.
Let me unmute.
How do I unmute?
You're good now. You're good.
Okay, you can hear me. Okay, well, initially I thought I would behave myself and just show some very aesthetic floral pieces in a kind of a monumental way. Had a bit of equipment sourcing glitches, and Kika worked very hard to find some solutions. And so we ended up with a fuller booth than I thought I'd have. And in the end, it turns out to be, a damn good decision on her part, really, or just a kind of felicitous turn of events. So, gee, how do I describe it? I wanted work that would be surprising to Paris photo audience. I mean, I was thinking about the context. Also, I wanted it, a lot of what I do is funny. There is so much humor in it, and not in a jokey way, but in a wonderfully absurdist way that I absorb from all my searching online for gifts. So that's basically it in a nutshell. I don't know what I'm very bad at answering broad questions. I'm much better at very specific things.
That's
Well, I have a specific question. We were talking about scenography a little bit with Nina. So and you mentioned a few very interesting things like monumental and so I'm wondering how did you structure the solo booth pretty much for Paris Photo?
Oh, well, that's kind of standard at what I do, because I've got gallerists IRL that aren't involved in NFTs, and so we're always like you're designing a show when you're hanging, and you're thinking about the context, both the physical circumstances and the potential audience. So those things are, and I'm used to considering those. I've had
No,
experience.
I'm more thinking like, are you presenting your work then in a digital manner on screens, or are they also like printed work? And maybe it's more question for Kika than in regards.
I think it was a discussion with Lorna that her work clearly belongs on the screen. So there's no sense to show her work in a printed version, except if the printed version has movement. So we are showing a few 3 pieces which are lenticular prints and very, very small. And so we love how that contrasts with the the immensity of the screens, and there are multiple screens, and then we have one small shelf with a small lenticular print. We have 3 for sale, but we are just showing 1 at a time. And so there's something that we love also this idea that the person has to come very close to it and to see the details and the movement of this lenticular print. But other than that, we have 10 screens and they are different. We have 1 triptych, which are 3. It's one. They are also sold as 3 different pieces, but it's really an installation of 3 very wide screens. Which are curved, so it has some type of sculptural element to it, which we thought was also interesting. So we are not all flat against the wall. And then we have a variety of formats of screens, vertical, square, and landscape, different sizes. And that combined with the content itself, it's very bright, colorful, full of movement and non-stop movement, and so it makes a very lively booth.
I think Kika and Lorna did a fantastic job in bringing variety into a booth where you really need to work with the screen, because Lorna's work, moving image work, it doesn't make a lot of sense to translate that into still images, and or makes no sense at all. But then at the same time, you're facing the challenge that the booth would look rather boring or a bit like commercial trade fair booth in a certain way, like a product presentation, if you just hang 10 screens in the booth and they all follow the same format or structure. So also this idea of bringing in like this quality of an installation or almost like a sculptural element into these 3 screens that also are slightly curved. I think that's what's then creating the magic also for the visitors, and that's also introducing the work in the right way, or putting it in the right perspective for people who come and look at it as art. And I think that's super important. And then of course it's for us it's a pleasure to have through Lorna such a contemporary or important element, I would say, of contemporary visual culture with the GIF, and then also with humor, the way she's approaching it, to have that in the fair.
And I just want to mention, it is interesting to have this in the week of the US elections. I don't know why, for me, it's a very interesting context. And there was something else I wanted to say, which I just escaped my mind. Yes, that's the first solo show of Lorna in France. So she's in very important collections in North America, but I think she's still there's still some discovery element for the French audience. So we are very happy to be. To have this honor to present her on the Grand Palais in this first French solo show.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
This is a great. I mean, it is. I think the booth, right, like Nina, have like a lot have. I mean, maybe half have like solo shows, which is an interesting trend, and a few other are like thematic based. And I think this is great because we also have Mimi here with
10 are solo and 5 are duo and group, and Mimi is one of the 2 group shows.
So it's more solo shows this year. Was that a decision, or was that just the decision of the galleries, or like?
I think it's also due to the booth size that we're offering. We're offering one very small booth size, like 15 square meters, also to make it accessible, let's say, for everybody who might be interested and qualify. And then at the same time, I think it's very rewarding for the visitors if you can go deeper. And in the end, it's a curated sections. And if we really want to also to talk to people through the artworks and introduce them to a new world, it's much easier through dedicated solo shows than let's say many booths that would be structured mainly as typical sales booths, as you see it as any fair. And also Mimi and Tender, the 2 group shows, they really worked hard to do curated shows within their booth, where they're bringing together several artists.
Yeah.
Well, and Mimi, you were. Sorry.
Please, Fanny.
And Mimi, you're a returning exhibitor, so it's would love to hear a little bit as your experience last year and what you have in prepared this year. Can't wait.
Sure, I am a returning exhibitor and a returning visitor as well. So it's very special for me, and I'm very grateful for Nina for that, because I've been traveling to Paris for years from London. It's not that difficult. So you just jump on the train and you come in. So I always find an excuse with my boyfriend. I was like, can you please go to, there's this fantastic fair. Let's go to Paris for even one day, and then we can come back the same day. And why I used to do that, because one of my very close friends from uni, his mom has a great gallery in Berlin, a photography gallery that has a very big booth in the center of Paris Photo every year for the last maybe 7-8 years. So we used to always go and support her, and just basically as a free labor help her with him. And this time I'm coming back and I see her again with her husband, and it's very magical, because I would never thought that it's even possible that I would ever dream that I would ever have a booth next to my friend's mom. and we always close. This year we literally again 30 seconds next to each other, and it's literally my favorite fair because it's the most beautiful one. I mean, of course, I know that Frieze and Art Basel are the most expensive one, I would say, in the contemporary art world. But it's very big. They have a lot of sections. It's of course installations and paintings, and often they are jarring. And Paris Photo has the feel of Paris Photo. It's Paris and it's photography, and it just have this nostalgic feeling, and it's beautiful. So I am very happy to be there and to actually see also what Nina's been doing. The very quick evolution from last year where we all came in. It was fantastic curation of galleries as well. I was really lucky and grateful to be surrounded, to learn from galleries like Nigel Draxler, Office Impart, Nome, to basically learn from the expert and the specialist, people running galleries for 20 years and have them as neighbors. And then being now in Grand Palais, as you said, Fanny, it's a magical building, and we are right bang in the center, surrounded by Gagosian, Pace, the biggest galleries in the world. So I do think that, Nina is being too humble because this is a very special moment for NFTs. And I'm just trying to call out a lot of hypocrites in our space because, of course, we grew up from this understanding that Web3 is independent. We are against gatekeepers. We don't really need middlemen. But yet, when Christie's and Sotheby's calls on our doors, we say yes to every single thing. We give them all the works. We give them the best works because we want to sell. And then we don't look into the stats because 31 out of 43 bidders in People's Sale were crypto collectors. They never brought traditional collectors to us. It was all, you look at the stats of every single, they even have a separate website. It's called Christie's, 3.0. It's not even on a real Christie's website. I think DK was in the fair, but in the real fair, in the real auction. And then look who won the work. Look who was bidding on the work. Crypto people were in the building. So I never saw people actually bringing that. And then also another run that I'm going to do about Art Basel, as Fanny said, exactly, is a different floor. It's a different section of the building. It's even outside the gates. Like you don't even need a ticket to go inside that because it's a champagne lounge. So you go on the escalators upstairs to a different section without any tickets to Art Basel, and it has nothing to do. So I met 20 artists from NFT space who came to the Web3 Art Basel event, and then when it hit the moment when I'm like, hey guys, let's go see the fair, and they look at me like, I don't have a ticket, and I was like, can we just go? I'm like, no, I don't want to pay. It's $70. I'm like, you flew all the way 12 hours to Miami, and then you can't be bothered to buy a ticket to Art Basel. And it kind of shows this weird tension between trad world and collectors. And the only thing that I think what is important also to mention, yes, we don't really need trad world. I think we don't. But we again look at stats. There was 2 million NFT active possibly wallets in 2021. Now it's 200,000. So we can't keep milking and squeezing this 10% left because it's pretty annoying for collectors now. So I think, growing out and going to a traditional fair and talking to more collectors, traditional collectors, and especially collectors who are used to the notion of digital artworks, like photographers, photographic collectors. I think it's an opportunity, and then hopefully it's going to work well for us.
Wow.
It was a rant.
No, thank you for this intro. And actually, we'll come back to that because, it's bringing it to a lot of questions, a lot of debates, actually, about the role of every actor in the sector, and traditional ones and digital natives also. But, let's talk maybe also about yourself first. And basically, maybe just, you can just maybe introduce yourself and also introduce, what you're doing with Ngui and Wahid, basically.
Okay, yeah, I think it's the first time maybe I'm introducing. So yeah, Mimi, a lot of people possibly know me from being a curator at Verse for the last 2 years. And I just opened, it's been 6 weeks ago, a gallery in New York, my own gallery in East Village. And Lorna, you came by to see it, and yeah, I've been curating since then. I'm also a professor in Central St. Martin's in the University of Arts London in innovation, which is funny, kind of like speaking about Web3 blockchain innovation. But it's also really been great because the university has been very supportive in that and allowing me to do a lot of modules, actually, short courses, symposiums about blockchain inside the university with students to the public. And that's kind of my way to educate younger, let's say, generation. And, at the peak, I could see my students applying for internships to Ledger, to all the fashion brands, so to Balenciaga, Metaverse department. So that was just really, interesting to see how over the just 2 years, you could just introduce young people into the whole notion of Web3, and then they can decide on their careers, hopefully, in the future. And yeah, Pariphoto is the second time I'm attending as an exhibitor, and again with a big group show. I think I'm just obsessed with doing group shows, which is against me because it hit me this year that I am alone and managing alone 7 artworks or artists, or 10 actually in total. It's been very tricky. But this topic, so the whole idea came very early on, possibly 2 years ago. I already have in my head the topic of heterotopia, which is actually taken from, it's a concept described a lot and discussed by Michel Foucault. So it's kind of my also homage into the French culture here. And he talks a lot about this concept of the other world. So there is like, this mirroring words that are on the other side. I mean, that's kind of my personal interpretation of that. And I've been working the last 2 years with a lot of artists over this whole concept of light, of course, like Zach Lieberman and A.A. Murakami. But this time I wanted to go even more in detail in terms of not only just lights, not just, okay, let's talk about lights, but let's talk about this feeling of heterotopia. It brings us to like this digital world and then our physical world. And I kind of threw this idea into the artists that I invited, and or brought the ones that I knew of the existing works, and I knew it would just make sense with this theme. And some I would just invite on a commission. And it was just amazing to see everyone's approach into that. And it's a selection at the end of 7 bodies of works. The first one, as you're showing, is Andreas Gissin and Sidi Vanetti. This is funny because this one is real photography, actually. It's a long exposure photography of lasers on plotters. So it looks like it's a digital work, but it's actually photography that he's been taking for like hours of, they designed like, you can play the video. It's, but it could be like a bit broken. So it's basically laser on a plotter machine that goes in different shapes. And they have in a studio, in a dark room, a camera that takes each frame of the plotter, and it creates this animations. So that's a very different way of seeing Andreas and Sidi's work. And they actually showed me this work last year at the Pariphoto. So we already know that this, if we would get accepted again, this would be possibly something that we will show. So it would be great to see, like it took so long, but it was also great to see that I already knew the work before applying, which was the case with everything here. So I think it just changes also the way of work as a curator. The next work is Sarah Mayohas. Of course, since knowing Bitcoin, I was always dreaming to work with Sarah. And this is a direct kind of body of work that reflects on the whole, her practice and looking at the whole speculation series. So this is one of, the brand from it called Light Speculation. So this is traditional photography, nothing to do with NFTs. And she's kind of using mirrors and lights to create this heterotopia. So it was like exactly what I was looking for. We're showing 2 works, and finally, once you're in the fair, you'll see how they are presented. This is the second work, and then the next one is I think the next body of work is Vera Molnar, and Aura Sabatier is the last series that she made before she passed away. I think they finished last October and she passed away in December. And again, this is something that I knew from last year, but of course it was very stressful and we couldn't, it was finished after the application for last year, and I just have a privilege this year to show this work. And it's her actually exploration with AI. So they parsed they use the AI tools to create these works with Paul, and his art name is Aura Sabatier. And it's very special because I don't think anyone actually saw this work before. There's a big feature in Centre Pompidou about this particular series, but from our space where we're all excited about Vera Molnar, no one actually know that this body of work existed. So I'm really excited to have this in the booth, and excited to talk to people about this work. And then after that, if you click next, I have loads of works. It's a big booth. Next one as well, to the next, and the next one. That's Nicolas Sassoon. It's RGB study. So you have, if you go into the details, yes, you have only 3 colors that are creating these beautiful portals. And it was shocking to me that, I knew this work, we're discussing actually a release of this work this year in February or March. So we discussed it since last year. And we, of course, couldn't do it on time. And when I was discussing actually the theme with Nina and the topic, it kind of hit me. I was like, oh gosh, there's Nicolas Sassoon, and this is exactly the work that represents heterotopia very well in the concept. But also technically, it's fantastic because it reminds of pointillism. So you have these little dots in traditional paintings from Seurat, and here he's just using 3 colors. So like when you go in person, closer to the work, you'll see there's just basically RGB that creates this effect, this crazy landscape, and the views from this window or the portal. It's pretty magical in person. And then the next one, I'll try to be super fast. Sorry for that. Zach Lieberman, of course. I mean, we're speaking about lights, and this I had to include Zach Lieberman. It's been fantastic to be working with him over the last 3 years already, and it's you don't really see it from one piece. It's more like in the series when you see like how versatile his algorithms are in his code. Like this same algorithm is doing hundreds, thousands of outputs that have nothing to do with each other. Like they are so special and unique in each of them. So I can't wait to reveal, I hope on Thursday, the whole series, kind of the chosen 6 works that are quite far from each other, but they're actually coming from the same algorithm. So it's quite special to talk about generative art in this case as well. The next work is Rick. This is a nice surprise. Rick was chosen by the fair as the headline image for all the posters. He's on the facade of Grand Palais, and yesterday Rick came with his father. And I've never been prouder in my life to see him and his father standing outside and looking at this work, because we didn't expect that. We had no clue that this would even be possible. And I think a few months ago, we got an email from the fair and someone just asked me, can you send us the file? Because this is going on all the billboards across Paris, in Metro, and I also didn't know it's going on the building. And someone sent yesterday to Rick a picture from a magazine. I mean, literally one of his friends. So this is kind of like the main picture of Paris Photo, and it's a crazy feeling. Rick actually represents something that I really wanted to speak about: virtual photography. So something like in-app software photography. So taking pictures, not using just camera and as a digital photography, but this is kind of like, I call it uber digital. Like he just creates this environment in a software, and of course with objects and set up lighting, it's a little bit like what Beeple does as well. And then he literally takes pictures in the game, like in that program. And there is photography, because you have to think about all the settings, exposure, the time, the time length of taking the photo, because when you have like the longer exposure, you have like this blurry effect of the gradients, and that's, you could see that in one of his old works with Red Bull as well. You have this motion movement of long exposure. So it is photography, but it's using different tools, new tools. It's just fascinating that you have to have the same knowledge, but instead of using a physical camera, using a digital software one. And I'm really grateful that the fair likes the image and allowed us, to use that to promote actually the whole sector as well. And yeah, it's been amazing. Oh.
Wow.
Last thing, you need to go to the next one. The book on Saturday, we're releasing the book, which is my first ever book release as a gallery as well. It's with Rick and David. It's a collaboration. So, thinking about Rick's gradient, David has been translating these gradients into a generative system, into a language. And we produce an artwork book, which means there is no text. There's just 139 gradients inspired by the book made by Vera Molnar called Hand Machine. So when you open, you don't really know which one is made by hand, which one is made by machine. And we try to recreate this notion here in this book as well, which with gradients from Rick manually done in his softwares, and with books that are done by the generative code. And then the last work, I'll be super fast, is Lars Vander. With the light bending projects, he's doing the same thing as Rick is doing, but using code. So he will have to explain the code better than me. But when you read through the lines of the code, it's the same setup as a physical camera. And he literally talks like a real photographer when he discussed the code, because all the variables in the code are basically lens, camera, exposure, areas, setting up the environment. And then this is the first time he's doing this in an animation. So sorry for taking so much time. It's a massive.
Don't be sorry. It's crazy. This
Private
curation
tour.
is
It's amazing.
yeah, it's super amazing. It's impressive. It's a strong curation. It's a lot of work, I believe, and no, can't wait to see this in real in Paris Photo. It's super impressive. So yeah, actually, I think it's a good introduction. Actually, I actually, time is running, but before we leave and before we go into next session, I just wanted to remind people who are in Paris first when they can go to Paris Photo, Nina.
The VIP opening is tomorrow, and that's by invitation only. But I think whoever knows one of the exhibitors or me and wants to come, they can contact us, and we see whatever we make possible, whatever we can make possible. So that shouldn't be a problem. And then from Thursday onwards until Sunday, it's a public days, and you can find all the information on the website of Paris Photo.
Awesome. So it's opening tomorrow at VIPs tomorrow from 11 a.m. something like this.
11 for the collectors and from 2 o'clock for the VIP pass holders.
Okay, awesome.
And also, I think we are all there. I will be there for most of the time, so stop by. We gladly give you a tour, and yeah.
I'll
That's the
be there
best.
also, we're organizing tours of the digital sector tomorrow and Thursday, but also happy if Nina is busy to give some tours of the sector for people who want.
Yeah, that's something that's so fantastic this year. It's really growing legs, the whole thing. So we have 100 collectors there. We have so many people like adding bits and pieces to it. Also Pour-Up, doing a great Pour-Up again with this year with Gretchen Andrew, and so many partners who are just growing a network around this. Even the first side events in the city. So
yeah, actually there are a lot of side events happening in the city. We will go to some of them. I know that for example, you can go also to Artverse, who's doing something with Tezos, I believe, on Thursday, and there is also UU exhibiting on Friday there. So yeah, it's pretty rich. I feel like, this is really like it's getting bigger and bigger. So that's super exciting. And just for people who won't have the chance to come to Paris, sorry for you, but you can get, basically, we're sharing the link again, but the best way to follow the work that we just presented is to go on the nguyenwahid.com website. We'll share the link with you to see the curation. Can we and on object.com, of course, for Lorna's work. Are they, most of the work also, can we buy them as NFTs, Mimi?
Yes, some of them.
Some of them. Okay.
Yeah,
so
we will have NFTs, and the NFTs we want to highlight.
Okay. Otherwise, the best way is to go on the website and contact you, right?
On the website, on Artsy. On Artsy, the page will go live exactly when the fair goes live on Thursday. So everything will go, it will be acceptable, available on Artsy and on Vue as well. Because I think they have like a automatic setup, like when the fair goes live, all the booths that are using Artsy will go live online as well. And Highlight as well should be live on Thursday. So just as a fair launch. The sale itself, depending on the series, some will be available earlier, some possibly on the last day of the fair. So I'm using kind of the fair to collect reserves, or any people on an allow list, to make sure that people at the fair also have a chance. Because if I would do a sale on Thursday and then someone comes to the fair on Sunday, it's a bit of a shame. They'll be like, oh, I'm interested, but it's already sold out. So I'm planning to do the sale at the end of the fair on the last day, or worst case Monday, just to make sure that everyone as a visitor has a chance to also sign up.
And that's something we organized that way with all of the exhibitors, to make sure that, of course, people who come to the fair, collectors, that they also get access to the works.
Okay, to not be just seeing red.
Yeah, because we also want to introduce a new group of people to this world, and if we shut them out again, that's not really helpful.
Okay, makes sense. And I believe it's going to be the same, Kika, on Object also?
We are selling everything except the installation, the triptych installation, that it would be not on Object. All the rest is going to be on Object. We were planning to actually release it tomorrow, but now that Nina is saying this, I think it makes sense also to maybe push it to Monday, because some of the pieces
put
have
a
only
little
one
reserve
edition available.
Yeah,
no, because it's some of them are only one edition available, so it's true that we do want the people at the fair to have somehow the chance to collect them, But everything is going to be available on Object, on the Object One gallery.
That's awesome. So it's been already an hour. I believe that all of you have work to do to finish the setup of the exhibition. To have a great opening tomorrow. I really wanted to thank you again. Kika, Lorna, Mimi. And Nina, thank you for being with us this morning. We are really excited. And and as I mentioned also, you can have also private tour with Fanny and the 100 collectors. And so for people interested and who want to follow live the next NFT morning, it's today. So basically going to happen the 5th of November at 4 p.m. And we will have the chance to have Trevor Paglen and Alejandro Cartagena. So it's super exciting. And I invite you to follow us today at 4 p.m. Otherwise, of course, you can always follow the replay. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Have a great Paris photo. And good morning.
Happy. Good morning. Really happy to be with you.